go.
Good afternoon. We'll start with Rob Dorset when we're ready.
Yeah, very good to see you. The headlines will obviously go on Jermaine Defoe, 34 years old, first time he's played for over 4 years now. What do you think from there? Is this a short-term fix because you've got so many injuries, or is there something more substantial than that?
Well, that's down to Jermaine, really. I think we have got injuries in the forward area, as you know, and I think it was important not to look at somebody's age and dismiss them from your thinking. His goal scoring record generally year after year is phenomenal, but in particular this season in a team that perhaps aren't creating as many chances as other teams, his strike rate is outstanding. So I didn't want to just look at his age and think that's he's finished with England. He's somebody that's immensely proud to have represented England at every age group. I think you get young players with a point to prove and older players with a point to prove, and I think he still feels that. So, I think he warrants the call up. I have to look at getting results short, medium and long term. You know, we are definitely, with this squad, nodding towards the future with some of the decisions that we're making. But also you need senior players around that to educate some of the younger ones, to show them some of the things they need to learn, and also the competition's important.
Is Defoe a realistic option for you potentially for Russia 2018?
I think it's impossible to say. I think it's impossible to say for any of the players. One of the things I want to create is competition for places, and I think with the squad that we've named, we're doing that in different ways. We're obviously missing a few players with injury that have the potential to come back into that, but it can't be a comfortable environment where people think they're going to be in every time. We've got to drive performance, and one way of doing that is with selection.
No Wayne Rooney. Did you have a discussion with Manchester United about his fitness and whether it was an option?
I've talked with Wayne. I think there's a chance he's fit for the weekend, but also the injury coupled with the fact he's really not had a lot of game time recently, and others have in that area of the pitch, has sort of determined my decision on that one.
There's no Andy Carroll or Theo Walcott either, and when you've got problems with fitness of strikers, they will be particularly disappointed. Is that bad news for them? Have they not done enough for you?
Well, I think Theo has a really valid claim for being included. He scored a lot of goals for his club. He's obviously played a lot with England. I didn't see him featuring in the games this week, and so in terms of having him in the longer squad, I wanted to look at one or two other players that I don't know as much about. I think that's a really tough call on him, and one I don't expect him to be chuffed to bits about. But as I say, I wanted to look at a couple of others. He's still very much in our thinking, and if he keeps playing well for his club, then there's no reason he can't force his way back in, as Mikel Antonio and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain have done this time. So Andy, I don't think has played enough. It's a bit like Danny Welbeck. Danny Welbeck's a player I really like. At the moment, is a little bit short of match minutes, but he's certainly somebody that would be in our thoughts.
Two players you know very well. You've earned a call up from the under-21s. Nathan Redmond and James Ward-Prowse. You've worked a lot with them at the under-21s. Are they ready for a senior England cap now, do you feel?
I think they've earned their opportunity. Their performances with the under-21s over a long period of time have been outstanding. We know their character. We feel that to hold them back, even though they'll definitely be with the 21s for the summer, to hold them back just because of that wouldn't be the right thing. We think it's a good message for that under-21 squad that there is a pathway for them. We think there's one or two others that can come on that route. I think again it brings competition for places. The guys that are in the squad now need to feel there's some pressure coming from underneath, and also they're playing well for their club. I thought they both played very well in a high-profile final at Wembley, and so no hesitation in putting them in.
Does Marcus Rashford come under that category as well? Would he be with the under-21s if there wasn't an injury problem now? And do you still determined that he will be going to the under-21s Euros in the summer?
Yeah, my ideal would have been that Marcus was with the under-21s this time around. Clearly, we've lost Harry, we've lost Daniel Sturridge as number 9s. So I think we need, with the qualifying game especially, we need that sort of cover. And then we've got to see, how much football he plays between now and the end of the season, really.
No Henderson, no Rooney. Have you decided who your captain is?
No. What's more important for me at this moment in time are developing more leaders around this squad. So I think those two have obviously captained the side. We've got 1 or 2 players at the moment that are captaining their clubs as well. There are also other players in the squad that aren't captaining their clubs that I think have good leadership potential. So I'll make a decision on the captain for the individual games next week, but we're looking at giving people more responsibility right across the board, really.
Some suggestion today that you might be putting a ban on the players going out during this 7-day camp. Is that true, and is it because of what happened with Wayne Rooney in the last get-together?
Well, the opportunity to get out would be lovely, but I've looked at the schedule for the week. We don't have a lot of time, frankly, so I don't see there being any opportunities. Well, there's no opportunity for a day off, that's for certain. We play Wednesday night in Dortmund, we fly back Thursday. We've got the qualifier at Wembley on Sunday. It's quite a unique week, really, in terms of the structure of it. Will be intense for the players because a lot of them play the Sunday that we meet up as well, this Sunday. But that's one of the unique challenges of international football, and we've got to manage that week in the best way possible.
And finally from me, what's your priority in these 2 games? It doesn't get much more prestigious than a game against Germany, the world champions. You can test your best against their best. But perhaps the more important one is the World Cup qualifier against Lithuania, even though they're 104 in the world rankings. So how do you balance those priorities, Gary?
Yeah, it's a good question. We want to take things from the Germany game. We want to learn some things from that game, that's for certain. We also would like to go there and win. The boost that would give for confidence would be big. By the same time, as you rightly say, we've got to make sure we get the 3 points against Lithuania as well. So we've got to try and balance that across the selection and the way that we approach both the games. But again, that's a good challenge for us.
Gareth Ollie Foster from BBC News. You talked there about developing leaders. We heard from Chief Executive Martin Glenn the last couple of days about the men. We've heard it before, being mentally brittle, lacking a team spirit and identity. He was talking in relation to the Lionesses. Now you're full-time manager. How do you intend to improve that side of things if you think it does need improving?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing to say is that the senior women's team have some very impressive characters, some hugely experienced players, some with over 100 caps, over 150 in one instance. So, and their achievements over the last couple of years have been absolutely fantastic. Our environment is a bit different. I think it's the profile of it is different. The pressures that surround it can be different. I think we've got to contextualise that for the players. There's a lot of talk about pressure, but actually performances over sort of 50 years haven't actually warranted the sort of expectation that exists. So I think managing that for everybody is an interesting challenge. But for sure, we want to give people more responsibility. We have to make the players feel that they can step forward, that they have some ownership of what's going on, that they feel that we're driving the team, but they're a big part of that, and that they set the tone on that, and putting them into situations that do put them under pressure where we can. Some of that might come around matches, some of that might be able to come at further down the line in other experiences that we can put them into. So there's many ways to try and develop that.
Personally, with those 4 games under your belt when you were kind of holding the reins, but now you're the main man, you've got that contract. Do you feel a little bit different going forward now? You feel that you can really put your own stamp on this team?
Well, I think when you are in the role temporarily, you're always half a mind on how much do you make decisions for the longer term benefit, and how much do you need to just get the points on the board for the country. Now there's an opportunity which I think the selection of this squad shows to put down some of the things I think are important. It gives me a chance now to speak to the players about what I've seen over those 2 camps, what I think can improve, what I think has been going well. And I think every manager will want to do that. We've got a clear longer-term vision as well of how we want to work as a group of staff. So the last few months have been an opportunity to put that into place. But yeah, I think the fact that it's now a permanent role gives me that chance to have some more honest conversations, if you like.
Notoriously difficult international break, this one, isn't it? Because coming out of a long hard winter, you're always going to have injury troubles, as you have done as well, and managers perhaps a little bit more precious with their players, have you found, because reaching the business end of the season in cup competition and the leagues, obviously?
Well, I've got to say I've been to several of the clubs that are involved in European football and in the big matches at the moment, and they've all been very helpful, very warm. I'm used to dealing with this time of the year with the under-21s. Same thing. It is the business end of the season, and also, you get more players carrying things, playing with injuries and needing to recover from them. So it's not an unusual scenario for me to deal with. Again, I think every country faces that issue at this time of the year, so we've got to make sure we manage it better than the others.
From your knowledge of the under-21s, John Stones is somebody obviously you know particularly well from your experience there. Another difficult night for him last night. Are you his development? Are you pleased with how he's developing? Do you feel he should be perhaps a better player than he is at the moment? Any concerns there at all?
No, I think last night was exactly the sort of game you want him involved in. You're playing top opposition in Champions League under pressure. I think he's part of a defensive unit there that had a difficult night. I thought he was one of the people that tried to stand up and made important challenges across the night that maybe kept City in the game at certain times, and with the ball used the ball well through most of the evening. So he's a 22-year-old defender who, in my view, is only going to get better. And I think they're exactly the sorts of nights that we need our players involved in. Unfortunately, we only have one team left in the Champions League to do that. So we're judging John in that harsh spotlight, but a lot of other players aren't playing in that sort of environment and being tested against those top players.
I was just going to ask that. You'd much prefer, as many English teams playing towards the end of the season in that top competition? Yeah,
no question. I think it's good for our game, and it's good for the English players. You want, if you look at advantages that at the moment that other countries are getting on us, those experiences in Champions League quarter-final, semi-final, finals, they're huge games to be involved with, and you want your players involved in those matches as much as possible. So at the moment that's a shortfall for us, but that's not something I can control. I've got to focus on the bits that I can affect.
Finally then, to that end, Jamie Vardy, your sole Leicester player in the squad, brilliant that tomorrow's draw we might see him pitched against, who knows, a Real or any of them really, and they're all big teams in there now.
Definitely, yeah. That's that's another chapter of a fantastic story, and great for Jamie, great for Craig Shakespeare to have that experience as well as an English coach. So we hope they can go as far as possible.
Any further questions?
Can I just throw in one more about Middlesbrough? We've got rid of Aitor Karanka, your old club, of course.
Yeah.
They're in a spot of bother there. What do you make of it?
Well, I think as a promoted club, always a difficult season to try and establish yourself in the league. A great shame for Aitor. He was a gentleman whenever I met him, very helpful with me, dealing with him on a couple of the players that were with us with the under-21s. So I know that will be a decision that Steve hasn't taken lightly. He's a incredibly loyal chairman and always wants to do the right thing for the football club, so he'll have put that off as long as he feels was possible.
Can we just hand the mic back to Rory Dullard at the back there?
Just a quick one on Jake Livermore, really. He's obviously a player who's played for England quite a long time ago now and been on a bit of a journey since then. So just your thoughts on him and thinking behind calling him up?
Yeah, well, the decision to call him up is positional. Without Henderson and Drinkwater, we need to find some solutions in defensive midfield players. I think in the future, Nathaniel Chalabar can be one of those that pushes for that sort of place, but isn't playing first team football really. And Jake is, and he's that sort of profile of player. At the moment, Eric is fulfilling that role. I think it's possible John Stones could do that, but hasn't done it for his club. So that's the thinking behind it. He's a different sort of profile to other midfield players we might have picked. From his own journey, it's an incredible story, and I hope I'm sure he's taken a lot of strength from what he's been through over the last year or so, and it's great to see him now back in the fold.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll head in. Sorry, there's one more on the left hand side there.
Hi, Gareth. Just ask about Luke Shaw. You mentioned several players you're concerned about playing time. Luke's only played twice since November. Is that a concern when you call him up?
Yeah, Luke is probably the one player in the squad that is in that situation. We've taken the decision on others for that very reason. But with Luke, partly positional. In that area of the field, we don't have as much competition for places as we have at number 10 or 7, for example.